Have you ever felt like nobody truly sees the real you? Like your deepest thoughts, insights, and feelings are hidden behind a mask you wear for the world? Carl Jung believed your true self isn't the one you show others. It's the quiet voice inside you, gently guiding you toward inner peace. Today, we'll uncover how introverts can embrace these internal nudges to unlock their authentic selves and live with clarity and purpose. I remember when I used to think everything that mattered could be proven. To me, anything that wasn't measurable, testable, or shareable wasn't real. But later, I had a haunting vision of a man standing in a field with a lantern. He looked like me, but older and more broken. It didn't take long for me to realize it was my inner self trying to talk to me. That moment changed how I see everything. It confirmed the chilling truth that Carl Jung had tried to pass on to us. Our so-called fantasies aren't mere distractions. They're powerful inner truths, trying to guide us in a world obsessed with external realities. In this video, you'll discover actionable insights and practical methods to tap into your introverted intuition effectively, helping you harness your inner guidance to create clarity, purpose, and authentic fulfillment in your life. To truly understand what introverted intuition is, we've got to meet the mind behind the idea, Carl Jung. Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and pioneer of depth psychology, wasn't interested in surface-level thinking. He believed that most of our lives are driven by what we don't know we're thinking. He mapped out different ways people relate to the world and themselves, and among the many fascinating psychological functions he described, one stands out as particularly mysterious: introverted intuition. Now, unlike its extroverted cousin, introverted intuition does not scan the environment for new opportunities. It is not wired to chase after the next big thing or jump on the latest trend. It has no interest in what is loud or flashy or gaining momentum out there in the world. This function operates very differently. It turns inward, moving quietly, almost invisibly, through layers of thought and feeling. It does not need to see what is happening around it to know something is shifting. What it notices are the patterns that unfold beneath the surface, those quiet, almost imperceptible threads that others miss because they are too caught up in what is immediate and obvious. Where others are scanning headlines, checking updates, and reacting to the next thing, the introverted intuitive is absorbed in the flow of something far more subtle. It is like being tuned to a frequency that most people cannot hear. While the world is busy applauding action and visibility, introverted intuition is somewhere else entirely, quietly tracing a line of meaning through seemingly unrelated ideas. It picks up on that one comment in a conversation that others forgot, that one symbol in a dream that will not go away, or that strange gut feeling that does not make sense until days or weeks later. This is not about zoning out or being disconnected. It is the opposite. Introverted intuition connects the dots in ways that seem almost impossible to explain. It does not rely on step-by-step logic. It is more like standing back and suddenly seeing a mosaic take shape. Everyone else might be focused on individual tiles, but the introverted intuitive sees the picture forming behind them all. And often they do not even know how they know what they know. They just feel it, as if the truth is slowly emerging from somewhere deep within. If you know someone like this, remember that they're not broken for seeing deeper meanings. They're simply wired differently, and that's powerful. Truly, it is not glamorous. There is no instant recognition or applause for this kind of perception. But it is powerful. It gives the person using it a kind of quiet certainty. They may not speak up often, but when they do, it is usually because they have been turning something over in their mind, letting it unfold, and letting the meaning sink in fully. And when they finally share what they have seen or sensed, it often surprises people. Not because it is loud or dramatic, but because it touches something deeper, something that others had not even realized was there. This is the strength of introverted intuition. Due to the nature of its psyche, it does not chase the world. Rather, it listens to the echo of it. It waits patiently until something begins to take shape. And once it does not just understand the moment. It understands what the moment is leading toward. But here is where it gets wild. Jung argued that what we often call just a fantasy is a fact of the psyche. These internal images and impulses, these seemingly random thoughts, are not meaningless fluff. They are energy, real psychic events. Just because they are not physical does not mean they are imaginary. A person might have a vivid inner image of building a bridge, and then 10 years later, that exact bridge stands in the real world. The fantasy came first. It was a fact before it became something others could see. This flips everything we are taught on its head. We grow up believing that something only matters once it is tangible, once it takes shape outside of us. But what Jung is saying is that the spark, the real beginning, happens within. The imagination is not a playground, it is a workspace, a forge, a place where reality begins to form long before it finds its way into the world. That means those daydreams you get lost in, those strange images that flash through your mind, that persistent idea that keeps tugging at your awareness. They are not just distractions. They are part of the creative process of existence itself. And ignoring them is like turning your back on the raw material of your future. So when we talk about fantasy through the lens of introverted intuition, we are not talking about escapism. We are talking about the mind tuning into something just as real as bricks and steel. Something that matters, even if no one else can see it yet. So the big shift is this. When we talk about introverted intuition, we are not talking about wishful thinking or idle daydreams. We are talking about a whole function of the mind that sees the world from the inside out. It does not wait for proof or external confirmation. It sees meaning before it is obvious. It often senses what is coming before there is anything concrete to point to. This is not a fantasy for the sake of escape. It is a vision rooted in deep inner perception. It is the kind of knowing that rises quietly, without explanation, but carries a truth that unfolds with time. Let's start at the heart of it. Do you believe the idea that the inner world is real? Type real in the comments if you do. Not metaphorically real, not poetically real. It's a strange thought at first, isn't it? How can something that happens in your mind be just as real as what's out there in the world? It's easy to think that the stuff happening inside of us is less important than the physical world around us. We're used to measuring reality with our senses, what we can touch, see, taste, or feel. That's how we decide what's real and what's not. But just because something is happening inside your mind doesn't mean it should be ignored or brushed aside. Carl Jung believed that the psyche, or our inner life, is a quality of matter itself. Think about that for a moment. The things happening inside your mind, the thoughts, the dreams, the emotions, the symbols, all of that is just as real as your heartbeat or your bones. It's easy to dismiss the inner world because we can't touch it in the same way we can touch physical objects. But what if the truth is that both worlds are just as important, just as meaningful, and just as real? When Jung said the psyche is a quality of matter, he meant that our inner experiences shape how we live in the physical world. They influence our decisions, how we relate to others, and how we view ourselves. What happens in the mind doesn't stay locked inside. It flows out into the world in the way we act, what we feel, and how we engage with others. The inner world might not be something we can measure with rulers or scales, but it has an undeniable impact. It affects our lives every single day. So, if you're thinking about the inner world as something real, it changes how you see it. It's not just a fleeting thought or a passing emotion. It's a living, breathing part of who you are. Just like your physical body, your inner world is something that shapes your reality, even if you can't always see it. When someone who leads with introverted intuition sees an image in their mind, it is not something that can be easily dismissed. It is not just a random thought or a fleeting bit of imagination. To them, that image is as real and as significant as any physical object or experience in the world. Think of it like a traffic sign to a driver. You do not question the traffic sign's importance when you're driving. It is there, clear and undeniable. That image in the mind of someone with introverted intuition carries the same weight. It is not something to overlook. That image might not always make sense at first. It could seem abstract or confusing, and the meaning behind it may be hidden. But the introverted intuitive knows it is not without purpose. These images do not just float by without meaning. They evolve, they shift, and they grow as the intuitive continues to pay attention to them. Sometimes they come back again and again, like a recurring dream, pulling the person into a deeper understanding. The image might appear to change or take on new layers as the intuitive reflects more on it, almost like peeling back layers of an onion to reveal a deeper truth. These images could be symbolic, speaking to something beyond the surface. They may evoke powerful emotions that stir the intuitive to explore them further. And sometimes, these images even feel prophetic, offering a glimpse of something that is yet to come. They might reveal something about a person's future or a situation that has not fully unfolded yet. But one thing is certain: they are never random. Each image carries a purpose, a message, a meaning that is unique to the individual's inner world. It is not something the intuitive chooses, but rather something that is given to them, a breadcrumb from the unconscious that they must follow. For someone with introverted intuition, it is not about whether the image makes logical sense or fits into the conventional understanding of reality. It is about trusting that these images have something valuable to offer, even when the reason behind them is not immediately clear. It is a deep knowing that what is inside affects what happens outside, even if others cannot see it. The intuitive may be the only one who understands that this inner vision, this fleeting image, holds the key to something far bigger than meets the eye. And so, they listen closely, reflect deeply, and follow wherever the image leads. Take this image Jung once described as an example. He described a man swaying unsteadily with an arrow through his heart. How does this sound to you? To a non-intuitive, this might sound dramatic or silly. But to an intuitive, this is how their inner world communicates. It shows the experience of heartbreak not as a sentence, but as a scene. And that scene might echo through dreams, feelings, art, or even behavior. Introverted intuition holds the vision, examines it from every angle, and lets it breathe and unfold. It doesn't explain the image. It lives with it until the meaning comes. Let's move to where things get even deeper. You see those inner images? They're not just personal. They are often archetypal. That is Jung's term for the inherited patterns of thought, behavior, and symbol that exist in the collective unconscious. Think of it like humanity's psychic blueprint. We all carry these ancient stories inside us, whether we know it or not. These archetypes are not just abstract concepts or ideas. They are powerful forces that shape how we perceive the world, how we understand ourselves, and how we connect with others. They live within us as underlying patterns, influencing our thoughts and actions in ways we may not even realize. When you experience one of these archetypal images, it is not just a personal reflection. It is tapping into something much older and deeper, a collective memory that stretches back through generations. For someone with introverted intuition, these archetypes are like guiding lights, offering wisdom and insight from the vast, shared human experience. They emerge not as isolated thoughts, but as living symbols, connected to universal truths that transcend time and culture. They show up in dreams, visions, and even fleeting thoughts, offering clues to the deeper currents of life. The hero might appear in a moment of personal struggle, urging you to rise and face the challenge. The shadow may emerge to point out the parts of yourself that you have ignored or suppressed. The mother could appear when you need nurturing or guidance, while the seer might offer glimpses of future possibilities or hidden truths. These images do not just belong to you, they belong to all of us. They are part of the human experience, and by tuning into them, the introverted intuitive taps into a much larger, shared reservoir of meaning and wisdom. It is as if the unconscious mind is speaking not just for the individual, but for the whole of humanity, offering timeless truths that can help guide the way forward. When introverted intuition kicks in, it taps into this deep well of collective experience. The fascinating part is that it does not require the person to have any formal knowledge of mythology or symbolism. They do not need to study archetypes or dive into books about the unconscious mind. These images just show up, often unexpectedly, and when they do, they carry with them a powerful sense of knowing, one that does not need words to be understood. It is like you have stumbled upon a secret truth, something that resonates deep within, even though it has never been consciously encountered before. You might not have seen that exact image before, but it feels oddly familiar, as though it has always been there, waiting for you to recognize it. And this is exactly why introverted intuitive can seem a bit otherworldly. They operate on a different wavelength, a frequency that not everyone tunes into. Have you ever met someone who speaks with confidence about things that have not happened yet? Someone who has a knack for predicting events, even down to the smallest details, without any apparent reasoning behind it. Or maybe you have encountered people who just know things about others, as if they have read their minds without the need for explanations or backstories. They do not need to ask questions to understand a situation. They just get it, instinctively. It is uncanny, right? It leaves you wondering how they can do it. It might even make you feel a bit uncomfortable, like they have access to some hidden knowledge you are not privy to. But that is the thing about introverted intuition. It does not rely on logic or reasoning. It taps directly into the unseen, the symbolic, the unconscious. It is like they can see behind the veil of everyday life, effortlessly picking up on patterns and connections that others miss. If you've met such people, how do you feel when you are around them? Do you get a sense of awe, or maybe even a little unease? Are you drawn to them, or do you find it hard to keep up with their insights? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section. For people like this, it often feels like they are 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Their minds are always scanning the bigger picture, constantly tuned into something deeper and more abstract. While others are focused on what is happening right now, they are watching the hidden currents flowing beneath the surface. They are not always anchored in the present moment, because their awareness is drawn toward what is forming just beneath it, what is becoming rather than what is. If you're like this, relax. You're not broken, you're just deep. But this ability comes with its own set of challenges. The same depth and sensitivity that allow them to pick up on meanings most people miss can also leave them feeling overwhelmed, misunderstood, or even alienated. They may pick up on subtle emotional shifts, symbolic patterns, or future possibilities, but have no easy way to explain what they are sensing. Words often feel too small to capture what is going on inside, and when they try to share it, it can come across as strange, confusing, or simply too much for others to grasp. Because of this, they might find it difficult to connect deeply with people who are mostly focused on what can be seen, measured, or immediately understood. It is not that they are trying to be mysterious or distant. They are simply wired to see and feel differently. So when you encounter someone like this, it is not that they think they are better or smarter. It is just that they are running on a completely different operating system. Now, while science is only beginning to understand intuition, there's growing evidence that the mind has ways of knowing things before the conscious mind catches up. The brain is always predicting, interpreting, and patterning. And the intuitive function picks up on this stream long before it becomes a conscious thought. It's not magic, it's just subtle. Let me tell you a story. A friend recently went through a major life upheaval. You know, one of those you don't know who you are anymore moments. He began having recurring dreams, and in every single one, he was in a house that wasn't his. Once, he found a staircase that led underground, and he couldn't bring himself to go down. At first, he didn't understand, but he kept writing them down. And eventually, he understood. The house was him. It was an invitation. The dreams were saying, "There's more inside. Go deeper." And maybe you've had something similar. A dream that wouldn't let go. A gut feeling that turned out to be right. A sudden image or idea that seemed to come from nowhere. That's not your imagination running wild. That's your inner world asking for your attention. It's easy to dismiss it. Society tells us if it can't be proved, it isn't valid. But what if the most valuable things in your life aren't things you can prove? What if your inner world isn't a distraction from reality, but a part of it? Introverted intuitives often keep these things to themselves, not because they don't want to share, but because they've learned that most people don't understand. And that's painful. It creates distance. But I believe the tide is turning. More and more people are starting to realize that what happens inside matters. That dreams, symbols, and inner images aren't nonsense. They are simply messages from within. So let's bring it all together, shall we? Introverted intuition is not a soft skill. It's not some flaky idea. It's a deeply grounded psychological function that helps us achieve inner peace by perceiving the meaning behind things. It shows us the patterns beneath the surface. It helps us make sense of life, not through logic alone, but through symbols, images, and inner resonance. If you're someone who feels things before they happen, who sees meaning in dreams, or who senses truths that others don't, it's not weird. It's a gift. But like any gift, it needs your attention. It needs space. It needs time. And if you've been ignoring it, or you've been pushing it down because it doesn't make sense in the world you live in, just know that you're not crazy. And you're not alone. You're just in tune with something most people never even notice. So here's what you can do. Starting from today, start paying attention to what shows up when you're quiet, when you dream, when you're walking alone and your mind drifts. Keep a notebook. Write down your images. Listen to what they're saying. And most of all, trust them. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." Maybe it's time to wake up, not by looking further, but by looking deeper. When you begin to follow that inner thread, when you stop dismissing your intuition and start listening to it, something incredible happens. You become more self-aware. You start to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be, as it wants to become, through your eyes. Now that you understand better, if you meet someone with introverted intuition today, what will you tell them? And if you've ever felt misunderstood because of your unique way of seeing the world, share your story below. It might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this video resonated deeply with you, please hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. You're joining a community of intuitive minds who embrace their inner truths and celebrate their differences. Remember Jung's powerful words, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Your journey inward begins now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.